Good morning, everybody. This is Rick Thomas from Obsolete Video Services. Hey, guys. All right. Anyways, we are working on a Panasonic NV3130 for a customer. When people send me these machines, they are in such bad shape. And anyways, it's just due to age and due to the fact people would mess with these machines and cause a lot of problems. But anyways, I'm building a unit for a customer. Trying to get one that's going to actually work properly. Did a lot of repairs to this deck, plus drive belts and everything else, which most people skip because they don't understand there's hidden belts on these units that must be changed out as well. But as you can see, we're getting extremely good color playback on this unit, and so now it's playing really good color. And the biggest problem is on the Panasonic units compared to the Sony units are the brushes and the disc assemblies on the video heads themselves. Now here is a disc off of one of the video head bars, okay, and what happens is you get these lines in the disc. They start gouging out the disc, okay. They'll start gouging out the disc, sometimes flaking the disc. As you can see, that one, the disc is flaked, okay. And on top of that, the brushes would be wearing out at the very bottom of them. They'd get flat. And the main cause on that basically is because there's tension pressure set with a few screws on this. You can't set the tension too tight or too loose. If you set it too tight, it's going to start dragging on the disc, which is going to wear out your brush and your disc. The problem with people who have these machines is they start taking screwdrivers to the heads on these units or in the brushes and things, trying to make adjustments because it's not working right, and they end up actually putting too much tension on it, and they start screwing up the brushes, or they actually start bending the brushes out of place and they wouldn't make contact. You know, I advise people, anybody who has these Panasonic NV units, don't mess with the heads on these things, guys, or the brushes. If you're not a professional and you don't know what the hell you're doing, do not mess with the head assemblies on these units. These things are really hard to fix because there's not any parts. So I had to do a lot of scrounging around 2 different machines and various things that I had for junk, for just parts, to part out, to replace the brush and the disc on the video head bar itself. And you can see there's a lot of lines in this sucker. That's all because of tension being set wrong. See, when this brush is on this disc, like that, if it's too tight down on the disc, it's going to create lines and wear out the brush itself. In this case, was a severe problem with this unit because some yahoos who just didn't know how to work on these things, just didn't know how to set the proper adjustments on these, and ended up causing more damage than they solved. These things are very finicky, these machines. All right, here's your PG coil, which is on your left and right. This controls the flipping of your head when it's spinning. And then this is an assembly with the brush on it, which, as you can see, the brush is bent. And it's just from people messing around with the brushes on these units. Now, you got to be careful, guys, when you're working on these units, because the Panasonics, there is no parts for these. You basically have to have two or more machines most of the time just to repair one of them, because there's no available parts, especially for the upper drums and heads. Not as much as there is for the Sonys. Now, the Sony head brushes and stuff, even though I don't like those machines, take it from a different perspective. It drags the side of the head, not come down on the head. And those brushes, like I said, you can still find those from place to place because they were used on a lot of different machines. But that's not the case with the Panasonics. These head brushes were made specifically for these machines, and it just isn't any parts for these machines, guys. I mean, I've been working my ass off on this machine, trying to solve the problems, and it's basically boiled down to parts. I had to replace a lot of parts on this machine. Somebody before me who had worked on it, they caused more damage than they solved, and I ended up having to redo a lot of different things on the repair of this deck. But we got it to this point. Now we're getting some actual decent playback out of it. The flagging is controlled by tension. This tape was recorded this way, but the tension is fixed, so that's not something to do with the machine. It's to do with the recording of this tape. And but we got it where the tension's enough we can pretty much get rid of most of all the flagging. And plus, when you take it into time-based correction, it's going to take the flagging out of the recording anyways. So it's just a very finicky machine. You can only fix them so far. You can't make these perfect like a VCR. I mean, it's just, they have their issues. There's a lot of tensions, tolerances, and different things in the video playback. But these things have serious problems with the boards, color playback, servo, and all kinds of things where they just don't want to play properly. But here at Obsolete Video Services, I've been working on these an awful long time. So I take an awful lot of steps on these Panasonics because I know them very, very well. And they are a disaster of a machine. Once they get all fucked up, you have to go in and redo a lot of different things. But when you start messing with the drums, do not mess with the head drums on these Panasonics. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to end up breaking the parts or wearing them out by screwing things too tight. And there is no replacements for these guys. I'm very limited on parts. If sometimes I get machines in for junk as far as junk machines, and I have parts for that. But even those parts are kind of wore out. So I have to fabricate a lot of my own stuff to make things work. So you got to be very, very careful on what you're doing on these machines, because if you mess with them too much, here's a perfect example. If you have a machine like this and it does not play, do not mess with the drum. Do not. Fair warning. Do not. Because if you mess with it and you break it, odds of fixing the machine is like zero, unless I have parts to do it, which 9 times out of 10, I do not have a lot of parts for this machine. 9 times out of 10, it's either because dirty tape, dirty heads. Don't mess with the head drum assembly inside with the brushes and the disc, where the disc are. They should be clean, but there's a certain way of doing that, and you should send it to a professional to do it. Do not attempt to do it on your own. So I hope you enjoyed this video.